Evening, and you're very welcome to the Leitrim GAA Podcast here on finalwhistle.ie. It's been a busy enough week despite the small number of fixtures. They were action-packed through the last couple of days. Of course, the weather today almost washed out the ladies' senior football final. It definitely had an effect on the quality of football on view in the match, but we'll talk about that more anon in terms of Glencar Manor's third consecutive senior women's ladies football championship title in the county. We'll hear from some of their players, Vice Captain Leah Fox, as well as Aoife Gilmartin, while Jerry Hickey, their manager, has a chat with us as well after the game. We'll also catch up with the ladies' chairperson, Kathy Butler, later in the show. But first, we're going to take a look back at the weekend's actions in terms of the men's football across the county. And of course, it was intermediate weekend. Two semi-finals yesterday in the intermediate football championships. All the results of the weekend across all the grades down below on the screen as you're watching. But of course, two games that took most of the attention yesterday were, of course, those two intermediate semi-finals between Aughmasheelin and Kiltubbert in the first game, and Alan Gales and Anna Duff in the second game. People were expecting two fairly tight games. In the end, not two great spectacles of football, and not that tight either in both circumstances. They might look a little bit tight on the scoreboard, but very one-sided in both of the games, particularly in the second half of that Anna Duff game. We're going to be chatting to Terence Reynolds of Aughmasheelin, whose side now face into a final appearance in 2 weeks' time. And we'll also hear from Dylan Keane of Anna Duff ahead of their qualification for the final and his thoughts on that. Well, that's maybe where we'll start today's show. And let's maybe jump straight into the conversation I had with Dylan Keane earlier today about the game yesterday and his thoughts on how it all went. Joining us now is fullback for Anna Duff, who of course sealed their place in the intermediate semi-final in 2 weeks' time yesterday. Dylan Keane, Dylan, very welcome back to the programme. I know we had you on in one of the early editions, but it's kind of a nice situation to have you back into the county final. You've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Cheers, Bethany, first of all, for having me back on. And yeah, definitely delighted to be back in a county final in 2 weeks' time.
Talk us through, I suppose, we'll talk about yesterday's game in a few minutes, but maybe the whole season so far. If we go cast our minds back, you got to that final in 2020. It wasn't played till a couple of weeks before last year's championship, and then you have to deal with all that kind of emotion of coming straight back in 2 weeks after you've lost the previous year's final. It's been a bit of a roller coaster for Anna Duff over the last 15 months since then, but what has the path been under Joe Cox for the last year and a half?
Yeah, I suppose, as you said there, like it was a change of circumstances in 2020 when we initially got the final, and then it was postponed due to I suppose we know what, but then we had a change in management, and I suppose with Joe's structure that he came in, and a lot of us from kind of my age group the whole way down, we've worked with Joe through under 13s, under 15s, under 17s, or whatever previous grade they used to be known as, the whole way through. So it was kind of a seamless transition to have Joe in, and I suppose touching on those age groups, Joe was always about just kind of building upon youth, and I've seen kind of team sheets yesterday. It's been kind of a change in names and circumstances over the last couple of years. We've just been, I suppose, trying to build the club as a whole more so, and like many clubs, I suppose the adult team and men's team at the top is usually what teams look up towards, and it's just been about building the curve the whole way through, and I think that's led us back to a county final.
Yeah, in terms of, I suppose, the development in the club area over the last few years, a lot of new people into Drummond. Anna Duff, of course, I'm sure Gornacoola picked up a couple of players, but Anna Duff seemed to have been the main beneficiary of that over the years. How key is it to have those youngsters coming through over the last decade or so we're now starting to see break into first teams for both the men's and the women's sides in the club?
Yeah, it's massive, and it's not to be underlooked massively. If you go up there any kind of Saturday morning and see the academies, like the numbers up there is ridiculous. You could be getting up to 100 plus, and that's where it all stems from. That's where we learned our curve at the very beginning. That's where I started out at under 7s, under 8s, and that's where you grow the love for football. And it's just a product and production line the whole way through. And as you said there, like you look at the team sheet from yesterday and on the bench and stuff like that, there's names there that mightn't have been there 2 or 3 years ago, but that's what's going to build upon us. And you're not relying on the same few kind of older generations. I suppose from my point of view, I'm kind of one of the elder statesmen on the team now, but that kind of production line that's coming through, and it just drives you on a training and having these young lads kind of pushing you and keeping you on your toes, I suppose, us older lads.
I think Ray Cox might have a little battle with you for that name yet. You have a decade or so to catch up on Ray.
Yeah.
In terms of, I suppose, the season so far, though, I know I saw you, I think, over in Aughawillan in a league game early in the year, and you were very impressive that day. And you've had some nice flashes of really good performances this year. And then there's been the odd hiccup or two as well. A couple of injuries haven't helped. I know Hugh Moylan hurt himself. I think he damaged his arm early in the year.
Yeah.
There was another couple of injuries floating around as well. Conor Reynolds missed a couple of games. And that hasn't seemed to knock you off your stride at all. It's just been consistently getting through the championship.
Yeah, I suppose as you touched base there, like the league was probably a massive learning curve for us. And from the outset, I suppose no one kind of gave us much of a hope to stay in Division 1. But we kind of looked at it upon building our own structure, building a platform for what we want to push towards our intermediate grade. And you know, I suppose when you look through teams previous years, you would have relied on the likes of Hugh and Conor and stuff like that, but it allowed other lads to come in, and you see the likes of Caelan Quigley in goals there, Frank Shanley yesterday had a super game at cornerback, you have Dan Bosquets in the middle, you know, Jo coming in at corner forward, and lots of lads pushing on. So that kind of Division 1 platform in that league gave us I suppose a base to build upon and give them, you know, really, really tough football experience, and kind of that's going to stand to us massively going into the intermediate grade. And it's kind of, I suppose, you know, playing at that higher standard, what you may call, kind of gave us a little bit of a driving force in the intermediate championship, and it's kind of stemmed us to where we are today.
In terms of, I suppose, yesterday's game, as we talk here on Sunday early evening, afternoon, people kind of fancied Alan Gales coming into that. You would have been the underdogs in most neutrals' eyes going into the game yesterday.
Yeah.
All nip and tuck for the first half. It wasn't a great game of football, but a blistering start to the second half, and you just seem to they don't answer to what you produced in that first 10-15 minutes of the second half that really kind of sealed that victory for you. What was it about the preparation coming into the game that kind of led that performance from you? Or maybe it was a halftime team talk from Jo, I don't know.
Yeah, so I suppose, well, going in as underdogs is nothing kind of new towards us. We're kind of always pushed down, but that's what we loved. And I suppose over the years, Anduff has always been built upon, you know, work rate, and that's kind of one of our mainstays throughout the team is work rate. And I suppose we knew what Drumshanbo, having played them a couple of weeks ago, were going to bring. Obviously, yeah, we might have been the best first half, and especially when they got the goal, kind of their tails were up. But we knew we got a chance to come in at halftime, reset, kind of got our structure and plan back in. And I suppose that blistering kind of start to the second half, we got the goal at the right time. And then I think maybe, I don't know if it was the second or third goal, it was kind of a long ball in. And that just stemmed the tide in our favour, and kind of we just drove on. But I suppose if you look throughout the whole team there yesterday, everyone was just driving each other on. There was no kind of, you know, drop standards. We were trying to keep pushing on and just work rate. And we knew we had lads coming off the bench. And I suppose it's not just about the 15 that started there yesterday. You know, it was a panel of 20 and a panel of 30. And there's lads, you know, the Junior A's a very good win last weekend. And that's just driving the force on. So the lads that are on the first 15 know that they can't drop that standard or else they'll be sitting on the sideline.
How important is it to have that squad culture where it's not just about the lads starting? We see so many teams really push on. They lose a player or two to injury or a card, and all of a sudden they really, really struggle to fill those gaps. You don't seem to have had that problem at intermediate level this year.
No, and I suppose that's been a massive stay. It is, I suppose, the first 15 always gets the kind of maybe limelight when it starts, but it is a panel of 30, 35, 36. Like, we're very blessed, I suppose, since COVID times for lads working at home and the lads at college we're kind of staying home. We've been able to build a base of kind of 35, 36 players, and it's great to see out at training every kind of Tuesday and Thursday and whatnot. And that is the driving force. You know, we're lucky ones that do get the jerseys 1 to 15, but it's gone past the stage of the years where we're not relying on like likes of Ray or Shawnee Mack to kind of deliver us over the line. Like you've seen yesterday, Kenny jumped up, Jo came on, Sean Quigley. You know, these lads are just kind of up on the performances, and it's, you know, it's a credit to the boys maybe that aren't getting on the first 15 that are driving them on. And, you know, at the very end of the day, it's for the parish, it's for the community. It's not just any kind of one person's name on the sheet.
Of course, 2 weeks to go to the final. What's the final preparations looking like for yourself now?
Yes, well, so well, I suppose we haven't really kind of thought too much of it. I know that's kind of maybe a political answer, but we just got over a tough battle yesterday. I suppose we'll regroup now during the week and just make sure that the bodies are right, first of all. Like, I suppose you're not going to do an awful amount of kind of work in the next 2 weeks. It's just kind of getting obviously a little bit of grips to see what Loughlin Sheelan are doing. I know I watched maybe 5 or 10 minutes yesterday. Kind of see how they map out and kind of just, I suppose, focus on ourselves massively, first of all. Getting lads back into the movement and just getting a clean build. You know, enjoy the obviously build up, because I suppose, well, we're lucky enough we've had a couple of finals in the last 2 or 3 years, but you know, it's a massive occasion for not just us but the whole community. You know, Drumshanbo and Duff. To build on that, it's a massive experience. And a couple of lads there that are kind of going to their first final. So just about, you know, getting back to basics with training and getting the bodies right and looking forward to the occasion.
You've kind of touched on it there, but what's different about this side that maybe 15, 16 months ago in the previous intermediate final? What's the different gravy this time around compared to where you were in that final against Cork Leitrim 18 months ago, 16 months ago?
Yeah, so I suppose it's I think it's a kind of a new lease of life in the whole team. That younger generation comes along, and I suppose they mightn't have the fear factor, or they don't have the kind of experience of losing finals so much. But so they're driving us on massively, and it's just get a great buzz around the place. Everyone is working hard for each other. There's a massive panel there. And you see it the whole way through the club. Like, I know keep touching base, but that under 13s, I know they were in a semi-final today. The junior A's in the final next week. The ladies are in a final or semi-final in 2 weeks. So there's just a massive buzz around the place, and it just kind of feeds in at grassroots, and that leads up the whole way up to us at intermediate level. And I think that just kind of steamroll us the whole way into the final in terms of we're just carrying that kind of wave, and there's no kind of pressure on us. We're just building for hopefully a successful future.
Of course, the final take place. We guessed 2 weeks today, but of course that to be confirmed by the CCC in due course. But you would imagine it'll be the Sunday afternoon in Park Sean in 2 weeks' time. You're a personal trainer in your day job. What can be done at this stage? All the strength and conditioning that you're going to get done is probably done at this stage. But what can you do in that last 13, 14 days as you build up to that game to make sure you're in your peak, I suppose, condition going into that match?
Yeah, so without giving away too many tips and tricks, I suppose.
Sheila are listeners as well, by the way.
Yeah. I don't want to give anything away, but no, I suppose, as I said there, it's mainstay is just making sure that all the bodies are right. First of all, as I say, we'll touch base Tuesday or Wednesday whenever we get back training. Make sure we've no niggles, injuries, and it's just about looking after yourself. Not obviously mind yourself too much with regards, under training or anything like that. But there's not going to be any major fitness work done if you haven't kind of built up the standards by now. You're not going to improve massively. It's just about enjoying the experience, enjoying getting together with the lads for the next, probably only 4 or 5 sessions left in the year. Just looking after the bodies, looking after your food, your sleep, and just kind of enjoying the process and build up towards it. Well,
you didn't quite answer my question there, but I like it. If people want to get those answers, they got to pay the big bucks. Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, you might as well shout that out as well. It's DK Fitness, right? Or is that correct?
Instagram handles and all that. Yeah, DK Personal Training for any inquiries. Yeah.
Absolutely, and obviously walking the walk as well as talking the talk as a coach. In terms of the next 2 weeks, you're going into the final again, probably based on, even though you finished higher in the table at the end, Auckland will probably come into this as favourites, but you've kind of upset that apple cart already. Are you happy enough to go in maybe as slight underdogs into the final?
Yeah, so you could read it from either way. I suppose we're happy just to be in the final, first of all. And then kind of based off experience with Auckland, we've played them probably in a couple of league games or championship games in the last couple of years, and they've always had upper hand. I suppose form book goes out the window when it comes to championship final day. I know that's, again, political answer, but it's going to come down to just hard work, determination, grit. That's going to get us across the line, making sure, I said, everyone is just in flying form, flying fit, and whoever wants them most in the day, it doesn't make a difference what scores were against previous teams or how we got here. No one will remember kind of, group stages or whatnot. It's just all that happens on the day. But yeah, we're looking forward to it, and yeah, underdogs are our favourites. I won't mind either way.
Well, listen, congratulations on reaching the final, and we'll have all eyes peeled on Park Sean in 2 weeks' time just to see how you get on. Dylan, thanks very much for joining me.
Cheers, Breffney. Thanks for having me.
Dylan Keane there chatting to us about his side's victory in that semi-final yesterday. They now wait 2 weeks to face Auckland in, we presume to be Park Sean, on the Sunday afternoon. That would be today 2 weeks, so it'll be the 23rd of October. Of course, they have opponents in that particular game, and after the match on Saturday afternoon, Seamus Gallagher caught up. Seamus Gallagher caught up with Terence Reynolds, the manager of Auckland, to hear from his point of view about how he felt the game went, their victory over Kiltuppert.
I have with me Terence Reynolds, manager of the successful Auckland team. First of all, Terence, congratulations. You're in a county final. I suppose for the neutral out there, it was a disappointing game, not for Auckland. As I said, you're through to a county final. You are much the better team. You must be delighted with the win anyhow.
Well, I thought it was a brilliant game, Seamus.
I know. That's why I said neutral now.
No, it was, semi-finals are about getting over the line.
Yeah, I know.
Two teams are coming in to a semi-final and they've put a lot into the season. So obviously there's going to be a bit of nerves. There's no quarter asked nor given. Everything is on the line. You're one step from county finals. So there'll be mistakes will be made, and then there'll be players that will be playing with caution. So they're often not a great game, They're often very close. But we're delighted to be on the end of it, the right end of the result.
you got a great start, a goal and a point up, very early on. But Kilturban can't use that as an excuse. They had plenty of time to get back into the game, but they never really got back into the game.
No, they never got into the game. We focused on trying to win the break ball around the middle of the field, and I thought we did that really well in the first half. They never really got a chance. Now look at, they did hit the post, and a couple of close shaves, but we felt we controlled it well around the middle third, so they never got really a platform to be consistently coming at us,
I noticed there in the second half, you took off Fintan Fitzpatrick. I know he was injured the last day. Was that a kind of a safety precaution, or is he still carrying a bit of an injury?
He wasn't 100%. He wasn't 100%. And we looked at the clock. There's 15 minutes to go. We were, I think, 8 points up at the time, and we weren't really under trying. We thought, look at, you try and take an extra bit out of him. You're on the cusp of a county final. It was a decision we don't like having to make, but we just felt the averages at the averages at the time dictated that we were probably going to see the game out. Now look at when he's on the pitch. I think Aughnacheelan are a way better team than we are when he's not on it. Yeah. But we Cian Salmon in the wings, and it's great to have him back. And in fairness to Cian, he fisted a great chance that just came off the post, which would have buried the game altogether. So we feel we have options on the bench to come in and do a job too.
So. Just a couple of minutes' time, the second semi-final, they can go and relax and watch it.
Sure, look, we'll sit back and watch it.
Any preference? Alan Gales or Anna Duff?
They're both good sides. They're both, Alan Gales coming down from senior, they want to obviously get back up again. They're a young outfit. They've got a point to prove as well under James Flynn. Then Anna Duff under Joe playing Division 1 football. They got close over the last 3-4 seasons to getting out of intermediate. It's very competitive competition. They will be going all guns blazing. So two tough teams.
Could go anyway.
Get to a final though, we have to worry about our performance. And if we can get our performance to a very, very high level, then that's all we can do. You can try and control it. Can we control them? No. Can we control the referee? No. But we can control our own display and our own preparation. So that's all we're focused on now.
Well, I'll let you go. I know you want to get out there. Enjoy the second semi-final, and best of luck in the final.
Thanks, Seamus.
Forgot to unmute. I keep doing that. Terence Reynolds there chatting about his side's success on Saturday and their progress into intermediate semi-final. Congratulations to him and his Aughnacheelan side, and of course a great final in prospect at the intermediate level in 2 weeks' time. We expect we're not going to preempt any decisions of the CCC, but that is what the master fixture list would tell us is about to happen. Two pretty poor games. I suppose semi-finals are just there to be won. Nobody's that worried about how well you play as long as you get through them, and both sides should put up some spectacle of football in 2 weeks' time. So here's hoping that's going to be an absolute cracker. And enough looking to obviously get back to the promised land. They missed out in 2020, which was played in 2021, as you heard me talk about with Dylan Keane earlier in the show. Plenty for them to be excited about. But Aughnacheelan, rumours of, mentioned in the preview on the website during the week, but a lot of rumours about a lot of people emigrating at the end of the championship. It's a sad day for any club when anyone leaves, but a bit of a mass exodus in Aughnacheelan expected over the winter. So this could be their last chance to get up to senior before this team that they have at the moment. This very impressive side could be broken up over the winter months. The other scores from across the games, of course, Aughnacheelan and Kilturban 1-8 to 6 points to Aughnacheelan. Anaduff 3-13, Alan Gales 2-9, the official scores in those particular games. I'll put them back up on the screen here as well. Some other games played over the weekend. Ballinaglera and Mohill met in the intermediate relegation final. Mohill struggled all year, and they struggled again in that particular game. Ballinaglera 6-11, Mohill 1 goal, 1 point. Heavy defeat again for Mohill today. They go back down to the junior championship, which they won 12 months ago. Don't be surprised if they're back competitive at that grade really, really soon as well. Glencar Manor at 10 points. Melvin Gales 2-7 in the Junior A Championship relegation battle. So disappointment for Glencar Manor. Melvin Gales, after relegation from senior last week have redeemed themselves slightly with staying in the junior grade for next year. They'll be relatively happy with that, given the events of 7 days ago where they lost out so cruelly 6 minutes into injury time against Dromahair. In terms of the ladies' football, loads of games this weekend as well. The two intermediate semi-finals played yesterday. St Mary's 2-10, Drumkieran 1-4. As expected, St Mary's, they topped the table. They find a place in the final. And then maybe a little bit of a surprise, although it was a coin toss either way. Mohill winning out against St Bridget's 16 points to 2-9. St Bridget's with a healthy lead coming into the dying stages, but Mohill just kept that scoreboard ticking over, and they ended out winning by a single point in that particular clash. St Mary's and Mohill, they meet in the senior final men's next week. They'll meet in the ladies intermediate final the weekend after that. All to be confirmed in due course. But of course, all of the ladies football in the county, the eyes were on one place this afternoon, and that was before we get to the senior final, I missed one game here. St. Francis, they survived in the senior grade, 3-7 to 2-8 the final score, as they beat Dromahair by 2 points to keep their place in senior football, I think for the 4th consecutive year, and they'll be quite happy with that. They did have some really good patches through the season. They were leading against Glencar Manor, who won today's championship in their game a couple of weeks ago. So there's not a lot wrong with St. Francis, and they will be hoping to improve as they go forward next year. Dromahair, unfortunately for them, back down to the intermediate grade for next season. The senior final, of course, was where all the eyes were this afternoon, and we're going to hear from some of the participants in that. But it started out at a helter-skelter rate. Murren Devaney with a goal inside the first 15 or 16 seconds of the game, and it looked like it was going to be Manor's day from very early on. But Ballinamore hadn't read the script, and they turned a 5-point deficit after 12 or 13 minutes into a 5-point lead at the break. Some really inspired play from a couple of their forwards. Found the back of the net. Lily Byrne with a nice goal there as well in the middle of all of that. But it was a solid team performance from Ballinamore, but they did have the benefit of a very, very strong wind. Manor came out, and to be honest, the first minute of the second half kind of decided the contest. 2 goals from Murren Devaney in the space of about 35 seconds. In the second minute of that second half was game over as far as I'm concerned. A 1-point lead. Ballinamore did manage to get level, but never quite managed to get a foothold back into the game. They did have their chances, though, but it wasn't to be. 2 long-range efforts for points, I think, dropped short and just ended up in the back of the net from Alva Clancy, who, of course, made an appearance from her residence in Dubai. She came home for the weekend. We don't see that too often in Leitrim Gaelic games, but an international transfer last minute, and Alva came in. Now, she has been obviously a key member of that squad for many, many years, but she came in and was a huge influence in that winning of that game at the weekend. But a very, very impressive performance from a new look Glencar Manor side, really, compared to the team that's won the championships over the last 2 years. A lot of new faces in that team, really, really contributing to a solid team performance. But of course, Murren Devaney, 3-4 from her. What a performance, what a player. We've talked about her at length on the show. She's featured on our team of the week. I'm not going to give the game away for later in the week when we announce this round's team of the week, but I'd be amazed if she's not on it after her performance today. Hugely inspirational. Picked up the Player of the Match award as well, and of course, as co-captain with Leah Fox, did pick up the trophy for the club for the 3rd time in a row. Really, really impressive from Manor Hamilton today. They'll be quite happy, and I'm sure there's none of them watching it now, but they will probably pick it up on a replay later in the week. Let's hear from some of the participants in that game. We're going to start off first with Leah Fox, the co-captain of the side. Aoife Martin will be joining then, and the manager, Jerry Hickey. We're back in a minute after all of these.
Captain of Glencar Manor, it's a great day for the club. 3 wins on a bounce. Must be happy.
Unbelievable. It's hard to explain, to be honest. It's 3 in a row, but this is a totally different team. There's girls here that didn't kick football in 5 or 6 years that are starting there today, and unbelievable. I said it's 3 in a row, but it's 1 in a row for us. But our club is 3 in a row, so it's unbelievable. 1's good, 2's good, but 3's unbelievable.
Talk us through the game, of course. Murren had the ball in the back of the net after 20 seconds.
She did, yeah. And then a few minutes went by, and I think you're starting to do well. We're okay up until maybe 12 or 13 minutes. Then it went all downhill. I think we had 1-4, and they had 2 points. They could have had 2-5 and 1-4 at half time. We didn't score in, I don't know, maybe 10-12 minutes. And we were kind of getting worrying. There was no doubt about it. But I think we also believe in ourselves. This year, other years, we've played great. We'll win games that we're playing great in, but not games that we're like not playing well in, but I think we've really worked on it this year. Like we weren't a few weeks ago against Kiltubber, we didn't play for maybe the guts of 40 minutes and still came out with a point. So same here today. We weren't happy at half time, but we knew there was more in it.
Talk about the conditions, because they played a huge part, particularly in the first half. Challenging for anybody. How did you find it?
Yeah, it's tough. Like you're kind of have the ball around the D, but then you don't want to, like, the shot's on, but you don't want to take it because it's not going to go over realistically. And so we had 1-4 against the Wind after about 10 or 12 minutes. We weren't doing too bad, and then we didn't score. But I think like 5 points. The lads were saying this was half time. Don't be thinking that the Wind is going to change the game. They'll be in your favour in the second half. Like it'll help us, but it's not going to be the win of the game. But yeah, it was very difficult in the first half. But then you can't be too disappointed going 4 points down. Like it could have been a lot worse.
No little panic when you came out in the second half and for the first 5 minutes the wind was blowing in the opposite direction?
No. we got 2 goals, so we weren't too worried.
Well, maybe the wind helped in those as well.
Yeah.
In terms of where you go to from here, obviously Connacht Club Championship to come, I've asked everyone else about it. Your own thoughts in terms of that? Is that just bonus territory now, or can you do some damage in that competition?
Yeah, I don't see why. I think we've an 80s now. An 80s is one side go yesterday. I think it's them, but I don't actually know, is it the quarter-final or semi-final or what is it? But yeah, definitely. Like, why not? We got to a Connacht final last year. We're 2 points down at half-time and then just be kind of wilted. But it's kind of a bit of regret last year. Like, we could have been closer to Clonberne. I know they're an unbelievable team, like, but we could have been closer, and you're not going to get any better by just going out and say we're happy with 3 in a row, that's it. Like, we want to push on in Connacht now.
Absolutely. Well, listen, yeah, you look like you're shivering there from the wet, and I'll let you get back to the celebrations.
Thanks,
I'm sure the cold won't affect you for the rest of the evening.
For the night, no.
And got to be happy with that. 3 championships back to back to back. Thoughts after the game?
Yeah, I'm absolutely delighted. It was a tough slog out there, but thankfully we made it through in the end. Yeah, no, it feels great. It feels absolutely amazing, and credit to Ballinamore. They put in all the effort as well. It was just tough conditions, tough day, and luckily we came out on top. Yeah.
Bit of a roller coaster right from the first couple of minutes. You played that lovely ball into Byrne. She found the back of the net in the first 20 seconds of the game, and then half time you're 5 points behind to finish and win the game by that margin again later on. It was just, what was going through your mind as the game developed?
It was tit for tat the whole game. I thought, it could have honestly gone anyway. The conditions just made it 10 times harder to, get a ball right. So you just had to kick it and hope for the best. But yeah, luckily now, thankfully, we got the scores that we needed them, and a
bit lucky as well. A couple of balls just dropping maybe in that, maybe missed points as opposed to shots on goal.
Yeah.
But they all count the same at the end of the day. In terms of, I suppose, the build up to this, obviously having the distraction maybe of someone coming in from abroad who hasn't been around for the last couple of games.
Yeah.
Alva came in, contributed really well on the score sheet. How important is it to have players that quality when you get to games at this stage?
Oh, it's so important, and everyone on the team is quality. That was actually, today was our 93rd outing as a team from the beginning of the year. The lads reminded us the other day. So it takes a lot of sessions and takes hard work. You can't get anywhere with talent unless you have hard work, and that's what our girls put in. So yeah, all 46 girls I think were there today, and each one of them has put in so many training sessions over the past few months, and the lads have done great training with us as well, so it all counts in the end.
In terms of what comes next, of course, Connacht Club Championship, a bit of a baptism of fire last year, but you've got experienced this kind of success at Connacht level before, at intermediate level. What can Manor bring to that now over the next couple of weeks when they go into that championship?
I think we need to just turn around and focus on it straight again, we can't just take, we have to just take it as comes, We are lucky to have the experience in it the last 2 years. Last year we fell short with Kilcarn Clonberne, but yeah, we're ready to put in the effort again and just have our fun tonight and then get back to it next again.
Absolutely. So. I think the fun has already started here with some of the distractions coming in. But Aoife, listen, thanks very much for having a chat with us. Well done again today.
Thank you very much.
County champions, 3rd time on the trot, 1st time for yourself on the sideline. You got to be happy with, as the girls celebrate in the background, you got to be happy with the result today.
Of course, any day that you win a county final, no matter what way or how you win it, it's fantastic. And what a bunch of players! Very privileged coming into this group at the start of the year because they've achieved such success in the past. you know, it's a hard task to take on, and myself and James stood up to it, and look at, we haven't lost a game so far this year, and hopefully this journey can continue.
Blistering start today, had the ball in the back of the net after 15 minutes. You go on to score 5 more. Some of them maybe a little bit fortuitous. I'm sure Alva might not say she was shooting for a point. It was goals that won that game today.
Of course it was. Like, sure, look at the scoreboard there, 5-6 to 2-10, you know, and you wouldn't be happy on other days with that return, but, you know, today at work conditions were, you know, really, really difficult. And the girls dug deep. Like, we went in 5 at half time, you know, and Ballinamore with their heads up. So we got the reaction straight away in the second half that we needed, and the girls dug deep, but Ballinamore did not give up right up till, I suppose, like 7 minutes of injury time. They did not give up, but fairness to our girls, like, they stood up to the task. They answered the questions and they got the result out of it.
What was the mood like at halftime in the dressing room?
I wouldn't like to repeat my words or James's words, but you know yourself. Look, at times these girls can make it difficult for the management team, and then there's other days where we've come in, and Breffany, I know you were down against the St. Joseph's when we played St. Joseph's down at home, and like, we didn't know what to say to them that day at halftime, because they set a standard for themselves that day. We probably haven't got back to that standard yet, but at least we have a chance again to go again.
In terms of, I suppose, the impact as well of Alva Clancy, I know there was rumours during the week circulating that she was coming home. She came on after maybe 18-20 minutes of the game, scored those 2 goals you mentioned about, but she gave that little bit of maybe stability when it looked maybe like Ballinamore were getting into the ascendancy in the first half.
Yeah, look, Alva's been a big player for this club for a long, long time, and like up there with all the other greats that we have. And she was here for the first round of the championship, then she had to go back to her work in Dubai, and she's after taking holidays to get back for the county final. She got her chance, she got in and she made the difference. But look at the girls around her that are helping her out. You know, it's not about Alva, it's not about Myrne, it's not about Leah. You have the likes of Chloe Rooney, you have Rebecca Rooney back there, Emer Feely, Aoife Gilmartin. I could go through the whole squad. Like, we have 44 girls that have played senior football at some stage this year. Like, that's a phenomenal effort, you know, by all of them. They're putting it in 3 nights a week, and now they've got the result that they deserve.
Connacht Championship to come now. What's the plans? Couple of days to celebrate and then back into work again?
Yeah, look, we couldn't look for, you know, you couldn't look beyond today. So I suppose once we get tonight and maybe tomorrow out of the way, we're going to be fully focused, you know, and we have to be, because these girls have been in a Connacht final. Do they want to get back there? That's the question now they have to ask themselves. But we've 2 weeks to regroup.
Absolutely. Listen, Jerry, congratulations, 3 in a row. I know you've only been around in depth for the last one, but a great year and a fine accomplishment bringing this girls to another county championship. Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Jerry Hickey there chatting to me after the senior final today. Congratulations to Glencar Manor. Fine performance, fine game actually, and it was a real roller coaster, as we said at the start of the show. 5-point lead for Manor in the first half, 5 points down at half time, and then they just were too strong in that second half. The win played a factor, but I don't think it was that much different for either team. The referee, it has to be said, she came in to manage or to referee that game. I don't have the name to hand. She's Maggie. Maggie Foy, I think. Donegal native, living in Dromahera, and really good performance from her. Solid performance. A couple of times people getting frustrated, but I think it was more down to the ladies' rules been implemented properly in terms of contact, and great to see the game played and officiated and run in such a good spirit on what was an absolutely terrible day in Park Sean McDermott. I think the only person who had a bit of sense was Sarah McLaughlin, the midfielder for Ballinamore, who had the sense to grab the only spare jersey in the kit bag at halftime. She came out with a different number on her, but more importantly, she had a dry jersey for the second half. None of the other players quite managed to grab their hands on a jersey outside of that. But that's where we are for the weekend. We finish up with one chat I had after the game today with the chairperson of the county board. We spoke to Kathy Butler early on in her first season as the chairperson of the LGFA in Leitrim, and today we had a little catch up with her about the season so far. Now that the senior championship at least has drawn to a close, still plenty of action. We'll talk about the fixtures once you hear what Kathy had to say to me earlier today.
chairperson of the LGFA and the county board here in Leitrim. Great performance, great teams, great championship this year, and I suppose tell us your thoughts at the end of the season now in terms of the senior competitive stuff at least.
Absolutely, yeah. Like it's the senior championship finished today, and we've been treated to two epic finals over the last 2 Sundays. End-to-end battles, and I suppose it's kind of reflective of the competition right throughout, in that there were so many really competitive games, narrow victories, narrow defeats on the other side of it, and really high quality football, and that was evident today despite the inclement conditions. I think the girls served up an absolute feast of football, and it, as I said, last weekend was the same, with really titanic battle to the final whistle, and all 3 teams over the course of the 2 Sundays should be really proud of themselves.
How important is it for the game in the county that the standards are so universally kind of level, in terms of, we saw 4 or 5 points between the sides today, 1 point last week. Kiltubbard ran Manor to a point as well. St Joseph's on their day have beaten those 3 teams this season as well. So there's 4 teams in the county, and maybe 1 or 2 more intermediate level kind of knocking on the door, kind of saying we've got some really good players here. It must be an exciting time for the game in the county.
Absolutely, and I think it's been so competitive, and you see that across the 3 divisions. It's similarly in intermediate, it was nip and tuck, and teams taking points off each other. Junior competition the same. So it's a real, I suppose it's a credit to clubs that the standard is so high across the 3 divisions, and it's fantastic for Leitrim football, because it leaves the county scene as we start off on a new campaign and a new venture, I guess, with new management in a really positive space, looking forward into the competitions in 2023.
You've kind of preempted my next question, which was, last time we spoke, we didn't have a manager in place. We do now. Happy with the appointment?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, really high quality appointment, and it's fantastic. It's really exciting. He's been at a lot of the games throughout the championship, and has seen a lot of girls that have caught the eye, and he's putting together kind of I don't know what you call it, kind of not necessarily a team right now, but there will be obviously open trials and all of that, and he's looking at previous teams and players that have stood out across the competition. So it's a really positive space, and I suppose the message he gave when he met players a couple of weeks ago in Alan Gale's club rooms was that this is a clean slate and a new beginning, and anyone that wants to be involved can step up and do that.
Excellent. Well, listen, after a great performance today, there's plenty of reasons to be hopeful for the future for Leitrim football, and hopefully we'll be seeing plenty more success at the county level as a result of these girls that are coming through that we saw today. Kathy, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Perfect.
Kathy Butler there, the chairperson of Leitrim LGFA. Their season winding down, but still a couple of prizes at adult level to be given out in the ladies' sphere. We'll run through those quickly before we take a look at the men's fixtures next weekend. Kildra Gales face Anaduff. That's Clune and Gortletra, for those not familiar with the matchups and the amalgamations at ladies level. They face off in the ladies junior semi-final next Sunday at 12:30. That game, I think it's in Kiltubbard, and that's the game to be confirmed. That the venue to be confirmed. We'll just put the fixtures up here underneath the bottom of the screen. You'll see them all running across the bottom of the screen there. Leitrim Gales and Glencar Manor. Leitrim Gales, of course, their first time in adult football. They've reached the semi-final of the junior championship. They face Glencar Manor in that competition. Glencar Manor, of course, on a high after their celebrations today. They go into that game as slight favourites. The other game, it's a coin toss, Kildra versus Anaduff. There was only a point or two between them when they met in the group stages. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out of that game on Sunday morning. The Leitrim Gales, Glencar Manor, that game is in Kiltubbard, and Kildra versus Anaduff, to be confirmed, will be announced during the week. In terms of the men's fixtures next week, we'll talk about the 2 big ones in a moment. The senior and minor finals, they take place on Sunday in Abbott Money Park. Sean McDermott, of course, it's the Newtown Gore Engineering minor final between St Mary's Kiltard and McDermott Gales. That is an amalgamation of Kiltubbard and Ballinamore. Of course, they will face off at 1 o'clock in Abbott Money Park, Sean McDermott. While at 3, it's the big one, Mull versus St Mary's, a repeat of the 2020 final. I'm not going to pick out individual players because it's too easy to do that, but 2 of the best sides in the county this year. What will we expect on Sunday? We'll hopefully get another podcast out this week with a preview purely on those two fixtures. But in terms of other fixtures, there's two other junior games being played on Sunday afternoon, 12 o'clock throw-ins in both places. In the Junior B Football Championship, Carrigallen and Gortletcher, they play a back round of group games. Carrigallen currently top of the division, but in a very strange twist of fate, Fianna, second in the table, guaranteed to progress on points difference. If Gortletcher were to beat Carrigallen, the 4 teams will finish on 4 points, and it would be Carrigallen, regardless of the score, who would be eliminated from that Junior B Football Championship. Of course, that's second teams for all of those sides, but Carrigallen in the ascendancy, avoid defeat therein, along with Fianna, to the semi-finals of the Junior B Championship. And I think it's Allen Gales and Leitrim Gales on the other side of that draw. So a lot of clubs with a bit of interest on their second teams in that particular game. In the Junior C Football Championship, then semi-final, Ballinaglara versus Melvin Gales. They will play off. I think that's Junior C Championship. It's coming up underneath us here. My notes not quite clear enough on that one, but so some games, as well as the all the attention on Avon Money Park, Sean McDermott. I'm sure that's where most of the attention will be. Of course, it's live streaming on Leitrim GAA.ie. You can purchase your tickets for that, and we will, of course, be given live commentary of the game with a surprise guest joining our commentary team for that particular game. You have to keep your eyes tuned to see who that might be. In due course, we'll announce it later in the week. Results and reports and statistics from all the games, of course, available on finalwhistle.ie. Nice short one this week. As I said, we will be back with another episode later in the week, previewing the county senior and minor finals, and we hope you join us for that again too. For me, I've been Brett Early this week. It's been an exciting game today in the ladies senior final, despite the results, but I'll be back with you later in the week with a look at what's happening over the weekend with that senior final. Talk to you then.